Welcome back everyone, and welcome to the third installment of the Macross Retrospective. That would make the first Macross series in 3 parts, Macross Do You Remember Love in 2 parts, and now Macross 2 Lovers Again in 2 parts. It'll be 2 parts. Yes, we are taking a look at, release date wise, the third entry in the Macross series, the OVA Macross 2 Lovers Again. I have no idea why it's called Lovers Again, but that's just the title. It was released in 1992 in Japan and in 1993 in the US in order to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the series. But that's kind of strange considering that this is a 10th anniversary release and Shoji Kawamori and Studio Nue were not involved in it at all. Kawamori did not want to work on it because at the time he didn't want to do any sequels. And as for Studio Nue, I have no idea why they weren't involved. What I do know is that only Haruhiko Mikimoto, the character designer for the original Macross series, and one of the screenwriters, Sukehito Tomita, who worked on the original series as a scriptwriter and wrote the screenplay for Do You Remember Love, also came back. So yeah, Macross financier Big West was doing this one entirely on their own, and if what I've read is correct, they could not use any of the original characters from the Macross series. So this OVA takes place 80 years after the events of Do You Remember Love, and features an entirely new cast. The series was a financial success upon release, but time has shown that this one is not as loved as the others, even at the time of release. So what gives? Well, let's dive right in. The series opens up to a large, mysterious enemy fleet. And here we are introduced to our songstress of the series, Ishtar. Yes, I thought of that movie too. So who is she, and what is this mysterious alien force? We will soon find out. As I said, this show takes place 80 years after the events of Do You Remember Love, and here we are introduced to our second main character, Hibiki Kanzaki, a news reporter who is, for all intents and purposes, a tabloid journalist, and he's working on getting his big scoop.
I'm Hibiki Kanzaki, SNN investigative reporter. We would like an interview. Can you spare the time? I've caught a good chance to speak with UN Spacey Supreme Commander Exegran and Valkyrie Ace pilot Sylvie Gina. So what's a beautiful celebrity like you doing in a nice place like, Now leaving the hotel are ace pilot Sylvie Gina with her equally famous chaperone, Commander Exegran. And what could this mean?
We see Hibiki getting praise from his colleagues, but also some much-earned criticism from his boss.
You've reported an incident without checking all facts. Not good journalism.
The fact is, they weren't planning military strategy in their hotel. You're the one who first insisted that the news was meant to entertain.
If you don't begin to change your attitude, your career will end, and you'll never realize your journalistic potential.
Yeah, one thing you'll notice here is that the dub in this thing is truly awful. There are long pauses, there are times when the mouth of the characters are still flapping even if there's no dialogue spoken, and the performances are just, well, you can hear it for yourself.
If you don't begin to change your attitude, your career will end, and you'll never realize your journalistic potential.
But our ratings are paramount.
If you want to be a professional reporter, you'd better start now.
He is forced to apologize to the UN Spacey for his irresponsible reporting, and even gets an earful from Sylvie.
You disgust me. Scandal after scandal. Can't you get enough?
Information should not be filtered by the military. You know how the military controls us all.
Sometimes.
Their talk is cut short, however, when the Macross releases an energy surge, I have no idea why, and mobilization orders are given.
Hey, where are you going?
You're not the only one I have a conflict with. We'll have to finish this at another time.
An unknown alien fleet defolds near Jupiter, the same one we saw at the beginning, and the UN mobilizes in order to commence Operation Min-May. What's Operation Min-May? Well, you'll see. Hibiki wants to go cover the operation in outer space. He gets the okay to go, but only as a pilot, and another reporter named Dennis, one of the guys who chewed him out earlier.
Huh?
You don't know the first thing about journalism.
What do you mean? I report the truth.
Whatever truth happens to fit in prime time. That's where you make your mistake.
We'll be doing the reporting, and by the time Hibiki meets up with him in the Valkyrie, he's drunk.
You just keep this thing upright.
Oh shit, I can't believe it's Lone. Drinking during the day.
I'm sorry about it. More sorry by the minute.
No, parties are for popular animals, like tigers.
Anyway, after all that, Hibiki and Dennis launch to cover the battle. The military launches Operation Min-May, which is basically the use of virtual singing idols in order to throw the enemy into chaos by exposing them to culture. You know, like in the original Macross series and Do You Remember Love. but the singing catches the attention of Ishtar. Oh, and portions of the dialogue in this show will be in a made-up alien language. You know, kind of similar to the Zentradi language in Do You Remember Love. But don't worry, there are English subtitles provided. You're welcome.
Alus?
Sangrade kaduta Ishtar. Kutafe bach Marsa. Irute Ishtar autodan farut.
The enemy songstresses begin to sing, and their singing makes the enemy fighters stronger. Sylvie takes notice of this and remembers a chat with her commander. This chat probably took place after their encounter with Hibiki, but it's never made entirely clear when this took place.
Sir, the UN Spacey has always defeated the Zentradi before, but I know the day will come that the Minmay attack will no longer work. The military has become so soft, the soldiers lazy and complacent.
I would never have imagined the Minmay attack failing us so soon. Now we must defend ourselves against their song.
Hibiki and Dennis show up and they see that things are bad.
The viewers don't want to see this. They don't want to see our side losing.
What do you think war is? It's not a variety show.
Other characters in the show include these 3 pilot girls who I assume are supposed to be this show's version of the bridge girls from the original Macross. Oh yeah, they were shown earlier in the show. It's right here.
The results are in from yesterday's viewer poll, and Sylvie is still rated number
Hey,
one
I can't
among
believe
celebrities
it's our
and sports
chief!
heroes.
What has she
also
done?
And we have this guy Captain Nex, who I suppose is supposed to be our Roy Fokker of the series. Ugh. He's so underdeveloped it doesn't matter. But he's in a relationship with Sylvie over something. Are they dating? It's never really made clear. After working together to fend off waves of enemies, Nex and the 3 girls then proceed to ask Sylvie what she was doing at the hotel with the commander. Guys, seriously, time and a place, jeez. Dennis and Hibiki get inside the enemy ship, and they see Ishtar.
Do you think she's alive?
Maybe. Isn't she beautiful?
I'll get her.
What are you doing? Are you serious? Nuts. I just can't believe this guy.
This guy is unfucking believable.
Yeah, take her home. Yeah, that's a good idea. And of course, Dennis gets killed.
Dennis!
Take our footage back to SNN.
No, this is your footage, not mine.
This is our work, and the ratings should make you happy.
No, I suddenly have emotions for a guy I knew for a grand total of 2 minutes. All that aside, Hibiki manages to get the footage and Ishtar back to Earth. The second episode begins with Lord Fef, another dumb name, going to Earth with a small group of fighters looking for Ishtar.
Sas. Centran casa piensa. Beotes zonomo Marsa Ishtar. Tova degurav kutav.
Back on Earth, Hibiki finds out that there is a press blackout on the operation he has just witnessed. At least temporarily from what he is told.
This operation has been classified. UN Spacey has banned any news broadcast about it until tomorrow morning's press conference.
It won't matter at all when people see what really happened in the battle.
What did Hibiki do with Ishtar, you may ask? Well, he got his gay BFF to look after her for a bit.
I tended to her wounds and gave her some of my special medicine.
Thanks, Mosh. You're a prince among men, and then some.
Hibiki gets home and begins recording her? Well, this is creepy.
This girl, where is she from? And why is she a Micron? Hibiki Kanzaki reporting this mystery.
Ishtar wakes up, and she is understandably frightened.
Zentron dans kulcha makaeskes? Dans kolcha. Duwarito. Will you hold still? There.
Well, that looked needlessly awkward and uncomfortable. He should have thought of a better way of giving that to her. Okay, seriously, who gets water out of a spray can? Anyway, Hibiki learns her name and he tells her about Earth.
So, there are Centron and Meltron Microns on this planet?
Yup. Earth's culture has given them all a brand new life.
Is that an image of me?
Yes. This device objectively records all important events. And with it, I'm gonna aim straight for the top.
During their conversation, another energy surge comes from the Macross, and Ishtar is taken with it.
It's nothing for you to be concerned about. Relax. Around 80 years ago, the old fortress brought culture to the Zentradi, and with it, peace.
I'm sure it's the Alus. They could find me anytime before they come. I must be certain.
Hibiki watches the news and sees that the UN has lied about what happened during the battle. They claimed another victory, even though they were soundly beaten. After arguing with his colleagues over the phone regarding the edited footage, he discovers that Ishtar is gone. She takes in the sights and sounds of Earth, but it all proves to be a bit too much for her. You know, kinda like me at the IMAX screening of Aquaman. After stumbling here and there, Hibiki does find her. The UN notices that Zentradi ships are on Earth, and it gets into their heads that, gee, maybe we are vulnerable.
The pod that entered the Earth's atmosphere shows a marked Zentradi influence.
So it seems they've penetrated our defense parameters. This situation's becoming more muddled by the moment.
Oh my gosh, this is awful. Who commissioned this dub? Central Park Media? Why not? They were brave enough to bring this stateside.
Body is aching. What I was bruised all over my body because I had to fight naked. Mom told me I have bruises all over my body. Is there any connection to this? There is a war going on. Even dinosaurs are here. And they use bows and arrows. My sword is unbelievably dull. I'm not joking. 12th and 13th century foreigners surround me. I must somehow make sense of our convoluted situations.
Yep, that's from the creator of Mobile Suit Gundam, folks. Think about that for a second. Tomino, I like you, but that thing was a piece of crap. Anyway, I digress. Hibiki takes Ishtar to Mash's parlor, you know, his gay BFF from earlier, and gives her a makeover. While at the parlor, Hibiki gets recognized by one of Sylvie's comrades, and thus they go look for him at Culture Park, which is where Hibiki has taken Ishtar. Hibiki takes her there to give her an additional taste of Earth culture, you know, the kind that isn't so overwhelming, and this gives him an opportunity to mess with her.
Legend has it, if you give it a lie, it will bite your hand off. See? All 5 fingers intact.
But during their visit, the enemy attacks.
Look out!
Following me?
I'm not here to chat now.
After Sylvie gets Hibiki and Ishtar to safety, Hibiki proceeds to complain.
You know why we're in this situation. It's UN Spacey's fault.
Fine thing complaining when you can't even walk.
I'm sorry. It's all my fault.
It's your fault.
Ishtar, don't say anything!
After running away from Sylvie and Hibiki, Ishtar finds the Macross, which she calls the Alus Nova. But she's not able to look at it for very long as Lord Fef catches up with her.
Kishime mumu karuram, Marsa Ishtar.
Where the hell did she come from?
No idea.
When you date, do you always attract this much attention?
All I know for sure is that she's one of them.
Hibiki stupidly tries to go in and help her and almost gets himself killed.
Sylvie, sorry to keep you waiting.
But Fef manages to break away and escape, leaving our heroes to contemplate what they are going to do next. Episode 3 begins with the news spinning the events at Culture Park. It cuts away to an advertisement for the Moon Festival, which Ishtar wants to go to. She also wants to go to the Macross.
I can only find myself if I go to the fortress. It is a part of who I am.
Why is she drawn to the Macross? It's only an ancient relic.
Meanwhile, Sylvie and Lieutenant Nex, Captain Nex, I can't remember, are on a date, and she voices her protests about the Moon Festival.
Sylvie, if we don't hold the festival, the public will become suspicious. You know UN Spacey would never do anything to cause panic among our people.
Do you honestly believe that we can hide the truth behind a song and a dance?
How can we be expected to defend people who no longer have any faith in our ability to even maintain the peace?
Well, maybe. But I still think...
Sylvie, don't.
Okay, I know there's more to that conversation, but I had to cut it off there. I just couldn't help myself. After the date, Sylvie sees Hibiki and Ishtar going the other way. she follows. Hibiki is able to sneak them on board the Macross, and given that it's pretty much a national monument, I have no idea how, and it is here that we learn more about Ishtar.
I am an emulator, a Marduk priestess to the Alice Nova. I am Marduk. Since antiquity, we have traversed space, destroying any culture we came in contact with. We emulators control our Zentradi warriors with song. Their aggressive instincts are enhanced by hearing our songs. It is what motivates them to fight. For us, music is used only as a weapon of war. Hibiki, since I've been on your world, I have come to believe that there are many other purposes for song, and I thought if I came to the ship, I'd find the love song the lady told me about.
You mean Mosh?
I believe this is the Alus. It is a legendary Marduk ship, and I believe it can help free our people.
Their talk, however, is cut short by Sylvie overhearing them. They argue back and forth about what to do with Ishtar, and then Hibiki delivers a speech.
It's my duty as a journalist to allow her to stay and experience our world, our culture. Doesn't she have the right to know something other than war? We don't always have to be enemies.
You can go, but if I see her again, I'll arrest her, even if I have to break both your arms.
Sylvie! Thanks.
Then Hibiki heads to the moon with Ishtar to observe the moon festival. When they get there, they watch a let's just say air show.
Amy, you're behind by 0.2 seconds.
Okay, I'll catch up.
Now performing their precision acrobatics is Fairy Squadron, under the command of Ace Pilot Lieutenant Sylvie Gina.
Sylvie Gina's the best there is! What a babe! Yeah!
Well, I'm going home. Goodbye.
Sylvie,
After the air show, space show, whatever you want to call it, we get an idol performance. Okay, the song here isn't bad, but it's not great. I also don't care for the mech designs, which don't feel quite as inspired as in the previous installments. Shoji Kawamori was not involved in this one, and apart from directing and providing the concepts, he also designs the mechs, and he's very good at it. It shows in the previous installments, and all subsequent ones. As expected, Ishtar loves the idol performance.
They all seem so happy. This must be the love song.
Fef observes the show and believes it to be an enemy mobilization, and oh dear, he mistakes the idol for an emulator and wants it captured. And he attempts to capture her during the demonstration of a new Valkyrie with Sylvie.
Hey, is there something wrong? Hang on.
I think the Marduk have come.
Can't you shoot them down? Like you do in the news? We can't. We aren't loaded with live ammunition.
Hibiki goes out in a lunar Valkyrie to cover the chase, and Ishtar goes with him. In fact, she insists on it.
I must persuade Fef to stop this. I've learned our races need not fight each other. I can bring the love songs of Earth to my people and end our war. I must try. Please, Hibiki.
Meanwhile, Nyx catches up to Sylvie and gives her some much needed assistance.
Come on, there! Locked on!
Hibiki catches up to cover the chase, and Ishtar offers herself up in exchange.
Iminitarmi omo! Kartuem bag te ganzi o!
Der Samba falls not. It's a wild Azakeol.
Not only do the Marduk take Ishtar, but they also take Hibiki prisoner as well. Sylvie exchanges Valkyries with one of her co-pilots and goes after Ishtar and Hibiki. The Marduk ship folds and takes our three heroes with it.
Yazat ke aritas, horizatas ombi, mias Marduk, fekal, masat eldis staritas, sad protodio, ke nanonomio.
By the way, that voice you just heard was that of Lord Dingus, leader of the Marduk. Yeah, I know his name is Ingus, but I'm not calling him that. Ingus is a stupid name, so I'm giving him something even stupider. Dingus, it shall remain. Fef's ship regroups with the rest of his fleet, and we see Hibiki being tortured and interrogated.
What does SNN mean?
SNN is just private television.
So you admit it's an agency for emulation?
Never!
Are you responsible for the contamination of the emulator?
That's absurd. Why would I have to do a thing like that?
Even if you have contaminated Ishtar, we will cleanse her of your insidious mental pollution.
Meanwhile, Sylvie sneaks aboard the enemy ship to rescue Hibiki, and Ishtar remembers the good times. Aww. While Hibiki is playing reporter in his cell, like a little kid, Sylvie manages to find him with a homing device. During their escape, they manage to come across the Zentradi mind control center. They're about to leave, but Hibiki still has a boner for Ishtar, and so Sylvie will agree to go rescue her, but only to find out more about the enemy. Ishtar is then sent to some sort of Marduk high priestess or whatever to explain herself.
To raise our voice only in battle is wrong.
Child, we must cleanse your mind through the Alus Nova.
I cannot concentrate because on that planet I found the resting place of the Alus.
It cannot be, for the Alus exists only as an ancient myth.
Wait a minute, if the Alus is a myth, then why did the priestess say this?
Child, we must cleanse your mind through the Alus Nova.
You know, I'm getting really confused about their belief system. It's not really made clear what their beliefs or religion are, if there even is one in the first place. Just try not to think about it too much. The creators certainly didn't. It was only a matter of time before Hibiki and Sylvie get spotted and a chase begins. Even Fef gets in on the action.
Don't have time for this.
No nonsense. The culture min mazatak, Frodis vodio omumes
I gotta say, the action is really dull here. Even in the original series with all the recycled and fluctuating animation quality, there was still some energy to the battles, combined with Kentaro Hanida's score. But in this OVA, I don't really feel the danger to any of these battles, even when there's a lot of stuff going on, and even when it's easy to follow. And speaking of the score, it doesn't quite do the job well. Don't get me wrong, Shiro Sugisu has made some great work, Evangelion, but I don't know, he doesn't do a bad job like I said, but the score lacks the sweeping sense of adventure or romantic feel that other installments would have, particularly ones by Yoko Kanno and Kentaro Haneda. Well, I can't really blame him, given with what he had to work with. I suppose any score from anybody would be kind of mediocre. Oh, and speaking of Shiro Sugisu, he also worked on Garzy's Wing.
What's that light? Ah! Hey! Oh! Get down on the other side!
Looks like Garzy's wing!
Oh, it's shiny!
2 Garzy's Wing references in one review? Ooh, this must be a record. Look, I don't mean to pick on the guy. Check out his scores for Evangelion and even his one for Shin Godzilla. They really are fantastic. Anyway, continuing on with Macross 2. After more trouble, Hibiki and Sylvie get past more enemies and have some time to chat.
I've got to tell you that I think it's a miracle we made it this far. I think we can both thank my grandmother. I'm a quarter Meltrandi on my mother's side.
Yeah?
I inherited most of my fighting skill from her. Even though the Zentradi were engineered for war, they never gave up their right to be free. They're people, not tools or weapons. That's why I'm willing to take up this gamble, Hibiki.
After that, they take time to report their hopeless situation as they are surrounded. Then Ishtar begins to sing, or rather she begins to la-la a lot, and it gets everyone's attention.
That's Ishtar!
But the Marduk believe that peace can only be brought about when we purge impure worlds and then dominate them. We who have been polluted by this alien influence must be punished according to our Marduk discipline.
Fef breaks in and takes away Ishtar. Despite Ishtar's pleas, Fef continues to pursue Hibiki and Sylvie. During the chase, Lord Dingus orders the destruction of the contaminated ship, and our heroes barely make it out alive.
Ja, Ishtar. Maza Marduk piensa im alza ingus.
Moto Kazaru Nambadio.
Hibiki and Sylvie get within range of a UN Spacey ship in a weight pickup. In the 5th episode, we finally get a look at Lord Dingus and his posse.
E pienso Marduk, zambat pediats vols. Uta dans bagaruta bach. Da kulta namiats mansan. Da kananami uta.
We cut back to Sylvie giving her report to her commander.
Although the emulators are used in battle to motivate the Marduk's Zentron warriors, Ishtar felt she could persuade them not to fight by singing them an Earth song.
Hibiki hijacks the news to deliver the report to the people.
We are faced with a new alien enemy, the Marduk, who used the Zentradi through mind control in an effort to conquer the Earth. Brainwashed
Stop
by
this
the Marduk
broadcast
and are forced to
immediately!
fight us.
Yeah, it was only a matter of time before he gets caught, and he gets the crap beat out of him. And taken before the UN Spacey Council thingy for questioning. And good lord, the dubbing in this scene is awful.
I got on board the enemy ship.
Commander Hexagram, is it true that one of your pilots was with him?
I read the report, and it was Lieutenant Gina who was involved.
Place Lieutenant Gina under arrest. And do the same with this propagandist.
The UN fleet gets ready for the incoming enemy fleet and have 4 massive Macross cannons to destroy tons of ships. The battle begins, and it doesn't go well at all.
Help me! No! Oh, shit!
White Ox units, not reporting. All transmission lost.
Firewolf unit defense has collapsed.
Gosh, can't these people state their lines with any urgency?
The Gloria's first priority is to protect the Macross cannon.
They fire the cannons, but it doesn't really do much since more of the enemies show up. But this time, with emulators. The emulators begin singing and the enemy has the upper hand, but Ishtar won't sing. Hibiki is being interrogated.
I just want people to be prepared. If we're not prepared, there will be nothing left to save. I haven't any doubt that we can be beaten. Because I've seen them, and they've only used a fraction of their power.
Well, he is right, as the battle goes to hell in a handbag. Even Mr. Nex, Captain Nex, Lieutenant Nex, I don't remember this guy, is having problems.
There's no way in hell that I'm letting you get through to the Earth.
Gosh, just listen to the conviction in his voice. Dingus orders a song of death to be sung, and boy, this really makes the Zentradi under the Marduk control go crazy.
Even as this war ends, another war is soon to follow. Still, a countless number of our people will suffer. There is more to life than war. The people who hold the Alus are trying to teach that lesson to us, Fef, and that is what Ingus fears most.
One of Fef's pilots tries to kill Ishtar over her comments, but Fef lays down the law. And the UN fleet gets annihilated. Fef lets Ishtar leave the ship. Why?
Ishtar, you must leave now before I regain my senses. No one will know my failure, that I dare to love above my station.
Man, where did love come from? Upon impending UN defeat, Sylvie is called to talk to the commander.
It is only when we are able to join with the Marduk people who wish for peace that we will have the strength to defeat Ingus and end this war. It must be a surprise attack. I have an unorthodox proposal for you. Use the Alus to attack him.
The episode ends with Ishtar coming to Earth, heading to the Macross, and Hibiki recording what he thinks will be his final video.
By then it'll be too late, but as long as the camera keeps rolling, I can record the truth. And the truth is what people remember. The truth is what...
We've come to our final episode. Sylvie manages to break Hibiki out of jail, and she explains the situation to him.
We only have one desperate gamble left. The Macross.
You think we could use the energy discharge?
The main cannon should be operational. We target their mothership. We have to hope that Ishtar's right and the Macross is the Alus.
We see various characters do all they can against the enemy, especially the 3 female pilots who are supposed to be Shammy, Vanessa, and Kim equivalents. Lord Dingus arrives, and the Earth pretty much prepares for its last stand. As Sylvie and Hibiki get the Macross running, ground combat begins.
Core subsystems activated. We've gained 80% power. Now linking to main system.
That's great, Sylvie!
Sylvie and Hibiki launch the Macross and try to use the main cannon to destroy Lord Dingus's ship. They open fire, but of course it does nothing at all.
Metatsafa! That could never be the Alus. Everything that exists on this planet would be destroyed.
I failed.
What did they expect? The thing is like 80 years old. Wait a minute, it's a supervision army ship, so it's actually much older than that, but still, it's very old. Outdated by the standards of what they have now.
Sylvie.
What was that? A cue for a shocking reveal? Nothing is shocking in this OVA.
If only you and Spacey would have listened to me.
Oh, quit lamenting, Sylvie. Hibiki's gonna deliver a great speech.
When you live a sheltered life, you forget to look up at the stars, realize that the Earth is so small. We live our lives being selfish and cruel, never realizing that we can tell our true feelings, and then it's always too late.
We still have time.
Yep. Can you spare the time?
Oh, and they're suddenly in love now. Wow, this is undercooked.
Hibiki!
Huh? Ishtar?
This must be the power of the Alus, and the power is love.
Oh
my god!
The way this was playing, I thought Ishtar was going to end up with Hibiki, but expectations subverted?
Don't you see? This must be the power of the Alus, and the power is love.
Oh god! Why didn't anybody tell me? Oh my god, my insides are on fire!
Even Do You Remember Love wasn't this on the nose, and that's one of the most romantic movies I've ever seen.
The power of the Alus is not in the weapons. Sylvie, I know that you and Hibiki used to almost hate each other, but you found love. I know the Alus can teach my people love.
Get the phone! Call 911!
Well, after that diabetes-inducing talk, Ishtar wants to sing to motivate her people to fight back, but Lord Dingus has had enough of that, so he opens fire on the Macross. It is completely obliterated, except for the bridge. Somehow. Dingus also begins killing all of his followers who will not fight.
Question my order. You fool! I have shown you what comes of betrayal. The rule of the Marduk shall be decreed.
Does his discipline know no bounds?
But once Ishtar is done shedding tears, she begins to sing.
Don't dare say never again, for we'll hear cries of melody.
I hear your words.
Her singing is enough to snap the other emulators out of their stupor, and it seems to get Fef motivated to fight back as well. Well, they all fire upon Dingus and they end him for good. Yay. But hey, it's happy endings all around. Peace is established between Marduk and the Earth, and Ishtar wants to travel around the stars to spread the message of peace and love and all that happy horse crap. And of course, Fef will accompany her. Hibiki comes to see Ishtar off.
Just in time. This is for you.
Thank you. How sweet. Please take care of him. I wish I could.
Ishtar! I'll watch him. For both of us.
Yeah, Macross 2 wasn't great. You know what this thing feels like? It feels like a typical sequel. By that I mean, typical sequels pretty much do the same thing as their predecessors, but with a different coat of paint. I mean, the ideas are interesting, such as another alien race attacking the Earth with Zentradi slaves, and the ideas of government cover-ups, but it's at the service of something that's already too familiar. In fact, if you think about it, this is pretty much a retread of Do You Remember Love? Only mine is the energy, passion, and sheer entertainment value. The love triangle is pretty much non-existent, the characters are flatter than cardboard. Especially Hibiki, who never really had any genuine growth at all. He suddenly went from tabloid journalist to ethical in no time flat. His character arc seemed to come after the first episode with the death of Dennis, and from that point forward, he's still lame. In fact, the rest of the cast never grew organically either. Sylvie just falls in love with Hibiki at the end of the 6th episode with no real explanation, and I seriously thought that Ishtar was in love with Hibiki, but she seems to be okay with them being together? She didn't feel betrayed at all? Whatever. And I couldn't remember the names of any of the other characters that inhabited this show, not the 3 bridge girls, and Captain Nex, boy, what a non-entity his character was in the long run. The aliens and the mechanical designs are pretty uninspired, and the songs aren't very memorable. Oh, and as I stated before, the action was pretty weak. The animation in this series is pretty good, but it could have been better. Now before you say I'm being too harsh, take a look at Gunbuster. Now Gunbuster was released about 5 years before Macross 2, and that thing still holds up. That thing looks so much better. So now here comes an important question. Where does Macross 2 fit into the canon? What canon? Shoji Kawamori doesn't really care about canon. In an interview he gave on September 24th, 1998 for something called Macross FunNet, I think that was an old website, when he was asked where Do You Remember Love fit into the Macross timeline, he stated the following. This is something I have trouble getting people to understand in magazine interviews. For example, you've got World War II, then you have lots of movies based on that event, right? They are all fictional. They're all based on the war that actually took place, but they are all different. For example, in period dramas you have Oda Nobunaga and Tokugawa Ieyasu. But there are so many Oda Nobunagas and Tokugawa Ieyasus. The producers look at the real event and adapt the character according to their wishes. The actors and lines also change, so the character changes. It's that kind of feeling. Okay, so in the timeline you have a movie called Do You Remember Love that was released. Does that mean that the TV series is the true story? Well, you have the SDF-1 that supposedly fell from the sky, and then a story was made about the subsequent history and was televised. Then that became a movie. Then later there was the Macross 7 incident, and a series was made about that. That's basically how I see it. When asked if the Macross 7 series was also a televised broadcast within the Macross timeline, he stated, "That's right. That's the interpretation. It's not just the movie. They are all works of fiction." That's what I have trouble getting people to understand. They studied the history and made the fiction after the fact. While reasoning the facts, they had to make many compromises, like the limitations of a TV format, like the fact that they have to sell toys, so they have to adapt the story that way. So in that respect, it doesn't matter if all the productions differ. So yeah, Kawamori doesn't care if there's like a large consistent canon. And honestly, I'm kind of okay with this. It does give the creators free reign to make whatever shows they want without having to be too beholden to laws of canon, and it allows fans to decide for themselves how the timeline goes. My headcanon goes as follows: Macross 0, Super Dimension Fortress Macross, Macross Plus, Macross 7, with the movie Do You Remember Love functioning as the in-universe movie in that show, Macross Frontier, and finally Macross Delta. As for me, I don't consider Macross 2 to be truly official, mainly because it doesn't have Kawamori's involvement. Overall, Macross 2 isn't terrible, it's just forgettable. I own a copy of it for completion's sake, but that's really it. I'm just grateful Kawamori returned with Macross Plus to breathe life again into the series.